For some, Christmas is a time of stress. Family fights over the stuffing, kids fighting over the toys, all manner of things. Here's a couple kids fighting with their Star Wars laser guns or whatever. And you know how this is going to end. You know, they look happy right now, but they are just going to end up just whapping each other and crying and duking it out. You know how this is going to end. I love this picture. This guy is beating on Santa with something or other. I mean, what in the world kind of strife is going on in this world at Christmas time when they're beating up Santa? You know, I don't know if he took their milk and cookies when he shouldn't have or what he did, but I thought that was an interesting little picture. They're on the naughty list. That guy is on the naughty list, that's for certain. But peace on earth is something that we associate with Christmas. Jesus has promised us that we would have peace on this earth. And we sing about it at Christmas time, and we talk about it at Christmas time. But we don't see it. And it's not just that we're sending another 30,000 troops to Afghanistan. It's the peace in our hearts. It's the peace that we have with other people. Sometimes we can get so globally minded that we forget about the fact that we have problems here in our lives that we need Jesus Christ to work on, that we need Jesus Christ to fix. And He has promised to do that. Now, I believe that Jesus has promised to give us peace on earth, and that promise is available to us right now, but I also know that it will not be here in its fullness until Jesus Christ comes again. Yes, we have some peace with friends and relatives and family members and jobs and in this world, but it will never be what it should be until Jesus Christ comes. But in the meantime, we can work on the peace that Jesus Christ gives us in our hearts. And Isaiah chapter 11 talks about this peace. We have the prophet describe, in the verses that we talked about last week, we had the prophet describing the kind of king Christ would be. He would rule in righteousness. He would rule in justice. He would rule in mercy. God is a God of mercy, and Jesus as king also has mercy. And in this one, we look at the type of kingdom that Jesus Christ will have. What kind of kingdom is He going to be bringing into this world? First off, we need to know that Jesus Christ is bringing creation into peace. His kingdom will extend towards everything in this universe. Everything in this universe will be changed so that it is at peace with one another. Verses 6 and 7 talk about the wolf lying down with the lamb and the leopard and the goat and the calf and the lion and the little child leading them. And this is an image that intrigues us. Actually, the wolf intrigues me more than the lamb. You know, the lamb, oh yeah, I can handle a lamb. I mean, that's, you know, I can have them in my backyard. We can do all kinds of stuff. But the wolf, you know, those are violent creatures. And the leopard lying down with the goat. You know, our family used to have a goat, and on Sunday morning the goat would climb on top of the car, and we would chase it back and forth on top of the car, you know, until we had goat fritters. Took care of that goat. Never chased that car again. Anyway, but, you know, lying down with a leopard, now that would be something special. This is a bad Photoshop picture of a lion looking at some cows, but I did have a cousin who owned a live lion for a while until he saw it out in the field starting to stalk the cattle. I mean, it was a little cub when he got it, and it started getting out in the field, and the neighbors started seeing it in the yard, you know, looking at them. But, you know, one day, we will all be able to live together in peace. And a little child shall lead them. The cow will feed with the bear, and the young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like an ox. We're talking about a change in this world such as we have never seen. Now, it is, every time we talk about prophecy, I get a little worried because I'm never sure, and I've taken a lesson from history, that we don't really know what is going to be true literally, and we don't really know what's going to be true spiritually, so to speak. Now, I believe, and until I see otherwise, I believe that fundamental changes will happen, and the lions will lie down with the lambs. But I also know that the more fundamental truth is is that we will be changed so that we are at peace with the entire universe. And that we are at peace with God, which is what we really want to have happen. So I don't exactly know whether these are going to come true or not, physically. But I do know that they're going to come true spiritually. Creation has been out of whack since Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden, since they sinned. Especially since Adam sinned, since he did it with his eyes open. Since Adam sinned, we have been cursed. And the whole world is groaning in that underneath that curse. Romans chapter 8 tells us that the creation is groaning, waiting for the day of redemption. The rocks out in the yards are groaning. The trees are groaning because they know this world isn't right because of our sin. And it's not just Adam's sin, it's our sin that causes this world to groan. And it's waiting for that day when everything will be made right. I don't know exactly what that world will look like, but I do know that it's going to be changed. I do know it's going to be transformed. And there are going to be fundamental differences in this world because God is going to reverse the curse. Nature's most fundamental hostilities will cease. And that really is the point that Isaiah is hammering home. Lions will not destroy lambs, and leopards will not eat goats, because those hostilities will be done away with. In the Hebrew, it talks about living, the lion living with the lamb. And it doesn't mean this, the lion's just going to put up with whatever the lamb wants. Don't push your luck kind of thing. It's not saying that it means that they're going to live peacefully together. They're going to live without any animosity towards each other, without any danger with each other. We won't need leashes or cages or stalls. All of the hostilities will be done away with. All of the armies will be unnecessary. All of those things will be changed because Jesus Christ has come into this world. Charles Wesley, we sang a Charles Wesley song here this morning, wrote about this situation. He said they will be restored not only to the measure of understanding which they had at the beginning, but to a degree of it as much higher than that. In the beginning, I believe that all of the animals at the beginning were vegetarian, but I really don't know. But I also know that when Jesus Christ comes again, it will be changed even beyond that. It will be so much greater than that, and so much more peaceful than that. Everything will be as God has commanded it to be. And Isaiah says, a little child will lead them. That means that the smallest child will be back in his position as having dominion over this world. When God created the world, he said to mankind, you will have dominion over the nature. You are in charge of nature. And Isaiah is saying that will come back again. And we will once again have our rightful place in the creation order, and the little child will have the abilities that they were supposed to have as God created this world. I see this very clearly in a book called The Magician's Nephew, which is one of the Chronicles of Narnia, and I hope they get it done and make it into a movie someday. But as you know, Lewis tried to portray the truths that he saw in this world by writing about a fantasy world called Narnia. He wrote about salvation, coming through the great lion, dying for his people. And he wrote about creation in this book called The Magician's Nephew. And in The Magician's Nephew, he talks about a cab driver who drove a cab that was pulled by a horse. And his wife, and the horse gets transported too, to this magical world of Narnia, and Frank and his wife become Adam and Eve in this new world and populate this world. And the horse goes from being this broken-down nag that's pulling cabs on the streets of London to this magnificent stallion that has sprouted wings like Pegasus and can fly and can talk. And the horse says, my old master's been changed nearly as much as I have. He is a real master now.